Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hilo Hawaiian Hotel Mocha Ola Ballroom for the 95th Police Recruit Class Recognition Ceremony. For those family and friends who are watching on Facebook Live, my name is Officer Wayne Kennison, and I will be your host. The 95th Police Recruit Class began training on December 16, 2021. We are here today to mark the completion of 6.5 months of academic training. Officer Domingo, please present your recruits.
Right. Left. Class. Hope. Right. Peace.
We would like to begin today's program with an invocation by Police Chaplain Lauren Carmichael.
Thank you. Just like to welcome the 95th recruit class here. Of course, the mayor, chief, and all other personnel ranks and distinguished guests, and of course, the family members also here present. I attended a family support night with the recruits a few weeks ago, and on the brochure on the front there was a caption that caught my attention. It's not your job to face the job alone. And with that, I kind of had an implicational thought with the scriptures from Ecclesiastes that say, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls, who has no one to help them up. And then it concludes by saying, though one may be overpowered to defend themselves, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. And with that thought in mind, I'd just like to throw out as a reminder to the new recruits that we're grateful to have a department here, police department in the Big Island, that believes in not just your physical welfare or quality of life, but also your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual. And that's why they're 100% behind in way of having, peer support, the chaplain ministry, and also to encourage you as well to know that you have others here as family members to support you. And it's just a good reminder again in way of doing your work, and also when you're not working, your home life, your personal life, your social life, that it's not your job to face the job alone. And so may we just keep that in mind throughout the rest of this ceremony, and maybe at this time also bow our heads for a moment for a word of prayer. Father, I thank you so much for this ceremony today and the whole lineup with all the speakers and the keynote speakers and the chief doing his part, Lord, here in affirming these new recruits. I just thank you that everything said and done, Lord, can revolve around the thought that they're not walking this journey alone, that they have others here within the police department, within the peer support teams, the chaplaincy, the co-workers, and also their own family members in support of what they're going to be doing in their line of work. So again, we ask your blessings upon everything said and done, and that it will just better for the life that they will live from here and here on. And I pray this and ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain Carmichael. I would like to call on Police Chief Paul Ferreira to conduct the badge pinning, followed by the reaffirmation of oath. Each member of the 95th Police Recruit Class has chosen someone special in their lives to pin their badge or symbol of public trust onto their uniforms for the first time. Please hold your applause until after the reaffirmation of oath.
If I could call on the families to please come up. This is a long-standing tradition in the law enforcement community, having someone special in their lives to pin their badges on their uniforms for the first time. The badge is probably the most recognizable symbol of police authority. It is an emblem of honor and a pledge that the officer who wears it will always be there to protect the community. Some historians speculate that the first police badge was issued to the first police department in London around 1845. The badge was constructed and made completely of copper, which is what is believed to be termed the word cop coming from. Family members, thank you very much. Members of the 95th Police Recruit Class, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly affirm
I solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully support
that I will faithfully support
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the laws of the State of Hawaii,
and the laws of the State of Hawaii,
and will conscientiously and impartially
and will conscientiously and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a police officer
as a police officer
in the Police Department
in the Police Department
of the County of Hawaii,
in the County of Hawaii,
State of Hawaii,
State of Hawaii,
and any and all other duties
and any and all other duties
devolving upon me
devolving upon me
in connection with such offices.
in connection with such offices.
Okay, lower your hands. Good morning. This is not a wake service, okay? We're here for a celebration. I'm glad we're coming out of the COVID pandemic and able to celebrate this ceremony here today with the family, friends, the loved ones, special people in these recruits' lives. They've gone through a lot the last six and a half months. Members of the 95th Police Recruit Class, I want to personally congratulate all of you on successfully completing your academic phase of your training, which is the first major milestone in your career as being a police officer. You must now take all of the knowledge you've gained this last 6.5 months, and during the next phase of your training, apply it to real life situations. There will be no more training scenarios, no more simulations. You'll be out there in the community, in the real world, where you must prove to yourselves that you have earned the right to wear that badge. If you remember what I told you the first day as police recruits, that being a police officer is a change in lifestyle. It's a career. Well, you are today officially a member of what I believe is the most prestigious profession in existence, a police officer. You need to remember that With this honor comes great responsibility. For other than the military, no other profession than the police, law enforcement, has the authority to take a life when justified. This is a great, huge responsibility on you and all law enforcement officers, one that should not be taken lightly. You've now become a part of a unique family, a family of police, law enforcement professionals, and Ohana, Police Ohana. This also places great expectations on you. Remember that you are always held to a higher standard. You are always under the community's microscope. So be aware when you're out there doing your jobs, the badge that you wear, the honor, the oath that you've taken today. When you're out there doing your jobs, remember this day and remember the pride you felt when this special person in your life pinned the badge on your uniform. Always remember to display your police badge. Keep it shiny. Always as an example of your inner self. Never compromise your integrity, your honor, or your professionalism, or your performing your duties. Do this and you will never dishonor the profession, your family, your friends, but most importantly, you'll never dishonor yourselves. Remember the oath that you've taken today. In front of your loved ones, it is an oath of honor, pledging that you'll never betray the public trust, vowing that you'll always maintain the highest standards or the highest ethical standards that is expected of you out in the community. Before I close, I want to remind you there have been officers that have come before you that have made the ultimate sacrifice, have given their lives for the community. Make sure that your actions while you're out there on the streets never tarnish their memories or the badge that they wore and you so proudly wear today. Before I close, or I should say as I close, I want to thank a very special group of people, and I want you to thank them and remember them. The group of people that I want to thank is the families for all that you've done to have them here today, all the sacrifices you've made up until now, and the sacrifices that you'll continue to make in allowing these individuals to be part of the Hawaii Police Department and protect our community. So for you, I want a hand of applause. Members of the 95th Police Recruit Class, congratulations.
Thank you, Chief Ferrer. We would now like to call upon Honorable Mayor Mitchell Roth to address the members of the 95th Police Recruit Class.
Aloha! What a great day for all of you guys and girls and family and people here. This is really something amazing. A couple of weeks ago, I had a meeting with the chief who told me that he was leaving the department, and it really got me thinking about what a great job not only he has done, but this department has done, and why you should be so proud to be in the Hawaii County Police Department. You think about other places around the United States. There's police departments that have a lot more money. There's the police departments that are able to enforce laws that we can't because of our Constitution in the state of Hawaii. We have different rules, and you've learned about that in your classes that make it a lot more difficult. You're becoming police officers at a time where being a police officer is not as respected as it should be. We watch what happens around the nation, how police officers are treated. And I think, in spite of all that stuff, how lucky and how privileged you are to be part of this department, because this really is one of the finest departments in the United States. I've had the opportunity of teaching police officers from Hawaii to the East Coast, and I've seen how different offices take different things. I realize after talking to the chief, what makes this department so great? It's the people, the families that you have inside this department, the families that you have outside this department, the community that we get to serve. I know that your keynote speaker, Louise Fincher, is sitting right in front of me. She's going to be talking, but I think about that this department values partnerships and partners our community. And Louise, who you'll hear from, is just another one of those members of our community who has really made our community a better place. And she was able to do that because this department and our community values people like Louise and values people over here. As we watch what's happened on the mainland, we still have family members and community members that do respect our police officers because we haven't had some of those incidences. So as you go out, I want to congratulate you, but I want to also remind you how I started your class. And by the way, this class I think was a lot bigger when I first saw you guys. And we have the best of the best. So congratulations for enduring. But my thing that I'd like to just remind you is that we're trying to create this culture in Hawaii County where we treat everybody with dignity and respect, and everybody is family members. I hope you remember that when I talk to you. Now as you're coming out of graduation, that it's going to be a lot more important. And you may remember we talked about people who may have had family members who'd been in the criminal justice system. And how would you want those family members to be treated? I'm so proud of this department. We don't get it right all the time, but more often than not, this department comes through and treats people with dignity and respect. And that's why our community is safer than most places around the United States. And that's why our community is one of the best places to live. So thank you very much. Congratulations to our recruit class. Congratulations to our families. Aloha.
Thank you, Mayor Roth. Our next speaker, representing the Hawaii Police Commission, is Mr. Thomas Brown. Commissioner Brown.
Before I start, I do have two of my fellow police commissioners here, and they came all the way they're both from the Kona side. And we have Mr. Rod Cortararo and Mr. Rick Robinson. Could you two stand up, please, so they can... We do have some other dignitaries here besides Mayor Roth, who I haven't seen him this happy since he was at the Hilo Brewfest on Saturday, so mostly coming back from there. But we also have Mr. Talmadge Magno over here, our Civil Defense Director. You haven't been fired yet, right? You're still there? Okay, good. Actually, Talmadge and I went to high school together. He looks so much younger and stronger, and I've told a few people this, but Talmadge and I actually went to the police academy, but we didn't become police officers. We didn't make it. You might have known it as St. Joseph High School. In the old days, for you old timers, you know what I'm talking about, but St. Joe used to be the breeding ground for police, But anyway, on behalf of the Hawaii County Police Commission and Commission Chair, Mr. John Birch, it's my pleasure and privilege to deliver a few remarks to the 95th recruit class. All of you are embarking on a journey that will bring much pride to your lives, knowing that you have chosen a profession that was created to serve and protect the residents and the visitors to Hawaii County. I have known Chief Ferreira for many years, and since he has become chief, well, he has to correct Mayor Roth, and he probably will. But he continually refers to the Hawaii County Police Department as the best in the country, not one of the best, right, Chief? That's right. Thank you. Okay. Well, I can say it because I don't work for you guys, Chief. No, I'm sorry. Mitch and I go, Mayor Roth and I go way back, so I can. Okay, Mitch, thank you. And, I share Chief Ferreira's belief on this. The fact that you have completed the physical, psychological, and academic requirements shows that you have what it takes to succeed as a police officer in Hawaii County. All of you have been given the tools to succeed. Now the rest is up to you. You will go as far as your commitment and drive will take you. I sincerely commend all of you, especially during these times, for having the courage and fortitude to join this profession during the current climate, where it sometimes seems that police officers are under more scrutiny and even under attack compared to the so-called criminal element. Times have certainly changed. You now have to assume that anything you do in public while performing your official duties is either being recorded through voice or, through video or audio means. It's really easy to become jaded when dealing with the public and looking at things as an us versus them, in an us versus them manner. Police on one side, civilians on the other. I just ask that you please keep in mind to retain your humanity and not let that feeling creep into your thinking. We're all just people. And one thing, remember, that those people who complain and criticize police the most are often the first to call for help when something goes wrong. When I spoke to you folks about not losing your humanity, it reminded me of a situation that I observed many years ago that involved a friend's father who was a police officer for many years. And I'm sure no one here remembers him, but William Freitas was with the Hawaii County Police Department way back. He was from Hilo, and he had two sons who became police officers in Kona. Was Kelvin and Bradley Freitas, so some of you folks might know them. Now, I think Kelvin still lives in Kona. Anyway, one night I was at Kay's Drive-In in Hilo, and I saw him at the counter ordering something. So I said, "Hey, Uncle Billy, what you ordering from here?" Being nosy, of course, and he pointed to his car, and he said, "You see that kid in the back seat? I just arrested him, and he told me he hasn't eaten all day. So I'm just getting him a burger and soda before I take him in." I thought that was so cool that I've never forgotten that. And I think that happened in the late 70s, And I bet you that arrestee didn't forget that for quite a while. And I actually found out why later, that the arrestee didn't care for the steak and lobster they served at the cell block. Well, some people are different than others, but. And actually, Uncle Billy, he was a true Portuguese. He said it like this: "The kid wouldn't tell me he never eat all day, so I getting him a hamburger and one soda." And that's a true story. I've never forgotten it. And that really struck me personally, and I remembered it all these years. During your training, you've been provided textbook information on various situations and how you may resolve them. But please speak to your more veteran officers, and you'll learn that resolving situations in real life will best come with actual experience. And in some situations, the solution will be different than what you read in a book. Police work can be really exciting at times and also very boring. And I'm sure just like any other occupation, I'll tell one more story, and this is another true story. It happened years ago when there was a disaster in the county. And a number of county and state workers, as we had to do at the time, were at civil defense, like public works, state highways, police, and fire, because there was a huge rainstorm that was hammering South Kona, washing out roads, especially down in Napopoa, where even I think there were 50 or 60 students had been stranded. Traffic was backed up for miles in both ways. Harry Kim, of course, was there, and he asked me if I could get some buses to evacuate the children who were stranded in Napopoa. Turned out I was able to get some buses and had them start coming in, but they got stuck in traffic in Kainaliu, like everybody else. So, if you know Harry Kim, you know how patient that guy is. So, he asked me what the status was. More like, where are those damn buses? Everybody who knows Harry will know that's how he talks. And I told him they left Kailua, but they were stuck in a traffic jam in Kainaliu near Tashima Restaurant, just like everyone else. And then the representative from the police department overheard the conversation and said, "Hey, Tom, would you like a police escort to lead the buses down to Napopoa, and you can get those kids?" I said, "Darn right." And the police made it happen. We picked up over 60 kids, got them home. And so, doing a police escort can seem kind of boring, but, it does make a difference in people's lives. And I want to say, this is a true story. The representative from the police department who got me the escort is probably long forgotten about it because he's pretty old and he still works for the police department. You folks know him as Chief Ferreira. And then I'm seeing, yeah, he's looking blank right now, so I'm sure he didn't forget. But that's a true story, and I guess it's time for you to retire, Chief, if you can't remember that, Anyway, to the men and women of the 95th class, I truly appreciate your service and willingness to literally put your lives on the line for the safety and welfare of Hawaii County. Thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck in the future and in your careers. And please remember me in case you stop me. Thanks. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. The president of the 95th Police Recruit Class, Edward Petrie, will now deliver his address.
Aloha and good morning, Chief Ferreira, Deputy Chief Bogado, Mayor Roth, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edward Petrie, and I'm honored to be the president of the 95th Police Recruit Class. I want to begin by extending our sincere gratitude on behalf of the 95th Recruit Class to everyone involved to help us get to this point. This includes, but is certainly not limited to, Chief Ferreira, the Hawaii Police Department's training and administrative section, the county employees that assisted in selecting us, the many instructors that we had for our specialty courses and training, and most importantly, our three main instructors, Officer Ryan Domingo, Officer Wayne Kennison, and Sergeant Ryan Pagan. As a class, we were tasked to come up with a motto that encompasses us as a group. That motto being Malama Kekahi Ikekahi, to take care of one another. This motto was brought up relatively early in our academy time. Since then, it has been in the back of my mind, and I've been trying to explore the meaning of it and how it relates to us, the 95th Recruit Class. I've come to realize it is not a one simple definition answer, but it is threefold. First, the obvious and main reason why it became our class motto, to take care of one another as brother and sister officers going through the recruit class together. We began doing so on December 16th, 2021. We were a room full of individuals and strangers with different backgrounds and experiences. We had to come together as a class to form one unit, the 95th Recruit Class. I wish I could say this was done quickly and with ease. However, as a class, we faced adversity, trialing experiences, and hard times. These difficulties were the building blocks and necessities to forming the 95th Recruit Class and forming a strong foundation. These relationships and growths that were started have only been getting stronger till this day. Along with this growth of us as a class, comes the growth of our brother and sister officers. This family of 9 that is seated here today will become the family of the whole entire Hawaii Police Department. With that, our responsibilities increase. No matter where we are stationed and whom it may be with, we must be sure to always take care of our fellow officers as we rely on them and them on us. Secondly, we must take care of the community in which we serve. This is our entire purpose as police officers, being public safety. This can be attained by our core values in which we have been demonstrating our entire time throughout the academy. Integrity, professionalism, compassion, teamwork, and community satisfaction. All of which play a crucial role in effectively taking care of the community of Hawaii County. So, 95. Every time you put on this badge and uniform, challenge yourself to not only meet these core values, but excel in them in everything you do. Be an outstanding representation of the Hawaii Police Department. Third, and most important, we must take care of our families. And families, take care of the officer in which you are here for today. For if this is not accomplished, the latter too will be affected. The career of a police officer that we are starting will be tough, and our main support comes from you, our family and loved ones, wives, husband, significant others, and all of our family extended and near. We cannot be successful without you and your support. More importantly, 95. We need to take care of our families. At times, this career will be much tougher on them than it will be on us. So remember, after a difficult shift, included with stress, overtime, your family is still there and needs you more than ever. Just like our weekly homework assignments have been from Officer Ryan Domingo. Love on and spend time with your family. So, 95. As we divert past today and go on our separate assignments and districts, remember, we all started here, together. We had every reason and opportunity to hang our hats and quit. Each and every one of us struggled and overcame things we never thought possible. I can confidently say we could not have done it without one another. Together, we share this burning dedication and motivation to not only become police officers, but to push ourselves to become a better person. Do not let this fade. Do not let it diminish. Let this direct you as you continue on your path to becoming a great officer and a distinguished individual. When we go through tough times, do not forget our shared dedication and motivation. And remember, adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. And the character I saw our class portray is beyond exceptional. I want to sincerely thank you all for letting me be your leader. Each and every one of you pushed me, challenged me to become a better person. I'm honored to be a part of the 95th Crew Class and to stand side by side with you today. I want to conclude by recognizing the significant impact that our instructors had on us. Not just these past 6 months that have been formed from your guidance and leadership. As we continue on to our careers, we'll grow and develop into veteran officers. We will spread into different districts and different watches, but no matter what our future holds, our foundation was built here with you, from you three. Officer Domingo, Officer Kennison, Sergeant Pagan. We have bought into this system. I am beyond excited and looking forward to see what the future holds for each and every one of us. And I know it would not have been possible without your guidance and leadership. So thank you to the entire training staff. Thank you, Chief Ferreira, the entire Hawaii Police Department, all speakers and guests, and everyone here to celebrate with us today. Mahalo nui loa and malama ke kahi I ke kahi.
Thank you, Officer Petrie. The 95th Police Recruit Class selected head of the trauma program at the Hilo Medical Center, Louise Fincher, as their keynote speaker. Louise was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. After finishing high school, she moved to Kansas City to attend the University of Kansas School of Nursing, where she received her BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. While in Kansas, Mrs. Fincher worked as a nurse, charge nurse at the University of Kansas Medical Center, and was also a flight nurse for LifeNet Air Medical Transport. In 2000, Mrs. Fincher moved to Hilo with her husband and 2 young children to be closer to family and has made Hilo her home. Mrs. Fincher worked at the Hilo Medical Center Emergency Department as a nurse, charge nurse, from 2000 to 2009. In July of 2009, Mrs. Fincher became the Trauma Program Manager for the Hilo Medical Center, where she helped to develop the trauma program to include trauma activation and overseeing trauma care and policies, leading to Hilo Medical Center being verified by the state of Hawaii as a Level 3 trauma center. She also served as a trauma resource for nursing units and nursing administration at the facility as well as across the state. Mrs. Fincher also facilitates trauma process and improvement and functions in collegial and collaborative relationship with all nursing units, physicians, EMS, and HPD personnel. Ms. Fincher.
Good morning. Good morning, Chief Ferreira. Sorry. That would be Mayor Roth. Yeah. 95th Recruit Class, family and friends. I will say I was very honored, humbled, and shocked when I was asked to be your keynote speaker. I have never had a more humbling speech to give. So with that, you're probably all still thinking, here's my pink folder. You're probably thinking, what does a nurse have to share with the 95th? There's a lot more than you would think, and a lot more that I had to narrow down when I decided on what I was going to discuss with you all today. So, as I started my career, I knew I wanted to be a nurse from when I was 5 years old, and set my goals as such as to move forward into that. Serving people became my passion and also I didn't think this was going to be that hard. I really do enjoy working with all of you, and this is just such a celebration that it's touched me a little more than I thought. So, as Officer Kennison told you a little bit about me, I did grow up in Chicago in a very diverse community, a community that used to refer to, and I don't know if some of you out here remember being officer friendly. Does anybody remember officer friendly? Well, maybe it was just a Chicago thing, but we had officers in the community. They would come by, they'd wave. It was a very different environment than what you all have decided to continue in, than which I first had my first experience with officers. Life was simple, and opportunities and professions seemed like simple decisions. There was no COVID, there was no defunding the police, and decisions to become a civil servant was much easier. And I went to the nursing school at University of Kansas. On my first day, I saw a Life Flight helicopter land. And when they landed, the nurse and the medic took out a patient, and an entire team met them. And I said, right then and there, that's what I wanted to do. So everything I did was to ensure that I would one day be able to do that. So right out of school, I worked in a cardiothoracic intensive care unit where I took care of very ill patients who were waiting for transplants as well as receiving them. Patients' hearts would be failing as they waited for the ultimate gift, hoping for a miracle. There I learned to cherish every day as well as my health. I also learned blessings can come from tragedy. For those who were fortunate to receive a heart, it meant some other family had to have lost. And sometimes this can be an overwhelming experience, not just for the patient, but for the nurses. After several years, I recognized I needed to move to the emergency room to gain more knowledge and experience to meet my goal of a flight nurse. The ED is where I learned how to take care of acute emergencies, including sick and injured children, heart attacks, gunshot wounds, assaults, all types of trauma. This is also where my professional relationship and respect for police officers began. I realized we both see people in crisis at their worst. Every day, every shift. We have to make sense of tragedy and violence, which most people only see on the news. We have to be the voice of reason and order when there is little to be made. A few more years, I made it to my dream job as a flight nurse, where I would be able to take care of patients in a fast-paced, unexpected environment. I would be making the tough calls and the decisions on the scene. I needed to be prepared, have my equipment ready, and attitude checked at the beginning of the shift, just like you will. Because you never want the type of emergency to not be prepared, you learn to be prepared with your partner. You will work as a team. You will anticipate their needs as well as the community's needs as well. I learned the meaning of hours of boredom for minutes of adrenaline. The tones would go off, and you had to be ready and on your A game, even when you were tired, the weather was cold, or you were left standing on a highway in the rain, sleet, or snow, waiting to be able to take care of your patient who was trapped inside a car. Every time we would land on a scene, all eyes were on us. We would have to work under pressure, trying to save a life, while people were yelling, screaming, wanting you to take care of others, and trying not to lose your temper. We were instructed that we always had to be on our best behavior because you don't know who was in earshot or was filming. And if you had to be on the 5 o'clock news, it wanted to be in a good light. This is a completely different environment than what you're coming into. You have body cams, you have phones that record, you have people who are wanting to find the negativity, to find that moment where someone screws up. And here we even have one more system that is faster than any other mode of information in the world, and that's the coconut wireless. I have never worked somewhere where information and situations travel so fast. Personally, I would be going to work And my daughters would say, "Oh, are you going to go take care of that car crash that just happened on, Wainui?" And I'm like, "How do you even know that?" But that's Facebook, that's Instagram, that's Big Island Thieves. That's, everybody in our community knows everything immediately. And it is, you are under the watch, and the watchful eye in a positive or a negative light. It's one that you begin to notice and that you become judged. And everything is instant, with no filter for the public to cast judgment. Today's civil service has a whole different level of responsibility and judgment. You are called to assist and protect, but unfortunately there will always be someone whose intention is to find your flaws. You are expected to respond to chaos and be the voice of order. You are expected to provide protection without causing harm. You are expected to show respect while being disrespected. You are expected to see the worst come out of people and still want to serve. That's a lot. You might think, why would anybody want to do this? Well, the 95th class, I think you are well aware of all of these problems that our society faces, and for you to want to still serve your community is humbling. When my husband and I did move to Hilo, I had no idea of what a change it would be, not just for my home life, but my career. I started working at Hilo Medical Center in the ED, or emergency department. I was the only outsider, AKA Howley in the department. I learned quickly words like shishi, make, all pow, all on my first day. I learned 911 dispatchers give the craziest directions I had never heard. So take a left into the acres, to the 29th pole, turn right at the broken down blue Ford pickup. The house is on the Mauka side. It's green with a red roof and a large gray pit bull on the porch. I was used to address numbers, but there's a whole different way of finding people here in Hawaii. And I stood there listening to that going, is that real? And the pit bull will be secured on your arrival. So no crossroads, no address. Okay, I'm learning. I also learned that I had a lot of uncles and aunties and cousins that I had never met. Most importantly, I did learn the meaning of aloha through the care provided by the nurses in the department, giving care with such warmth that I had never seen. I learned to treat every patient like they were my family or my colleague's family, and chances are they probably were. We are the big island, but we are a very small community. I've served this community for over 20 years and can't think of a better community to provide for. And I know that the 95th class will appreciate this community as well. I have a few lessons that I'd like to share. I would like to encourage the class to learn to listen. A lot of what the world sees on TV of police is shows like 911, Cops, Chicago PD, or real life encounters on TikTok. There are all those moments that are amazing, high action paced. But really, a lot of times, what is needed is to hear the voice of your victims or of your community. Through truly listening, you discover what a person's true emergency or crisis is, and then you can ensure your understanding of the situation, the person, and maybe even solve a crime. You may be the only person who has taken a moment to listen and allowed for the victim to feel comfortable and be able to tell their whole story. So when I say you learn to listen, you also learn to speak and learn to be the face. I use the word the face quite a bit. And this one is the hardest. And I think this will be the hardest one for your career. You will see much pain and suffering. You'll wonder, why did this happen? How could someone do this? You will be required to ask the hard questions. provide heartbreaking news. My different roles in flight nurse and trauma program manager allows me to be in the community and in events and schools. And there is always someone who will ask me this question: what is the worst thing you've ever seen? Most of the time, they are expecting me to say something awful, like a car wreck, maybe some extremely horrific injury. They get a very different response. I give the same answer every time. The worst thing I ever seen is a look on a parent's face when I have to tell them that their child has died. It is the most excruciating pain that anybody can imagine or have to see. And once I have seen, I hope I never have to see again. You become the face in someone's tragedy or nightmare. You are not the reason or the creation of it, but simply the one who delivered the news. It's tough. Coming from a big city and working in a big hospital, it was very rare that I would ever see patients outside of the hospital. So I never really had to think about being that face. Here in Hilo, you might bump into somebody in KTA going around doing your daily errands, and you'll turn and see someone that you are that face will be standing right there in front of you. I've learned to smile and follow their lead. If they want to say hello, I am touched. If they want to ignore because it's too painful, I respect that as well. You can't forget all of these events and tragedies you see. Some of them will leave scars on your heart that you can never forget. It may be years into your career and something will trigger a memory. How are you going to cope? How are you going to survive? I encourage you to think about this sooner than later. Find an activity that helps with your emotions and stress. Is it going to the gym? Is it playing catch with your dog? Listening to music? Sitting by the ocean? Surfing? Whatever it is, find something that you can have a moment to silence those feelings. And think, this situation really did stink. But also hold on to the good calls. The good calls where you got to make a difference, where you got to serve and protect with aloha. The look of a person's face when they say thank you. Thank God you're here. Those are the faces that I like to see. Those are the ones that will keep you sane throughout your career. I can tell you I had one time in my career before I moved here where I had flown a woman who was pregnant, and she had more concerned about her unborn child than herself as we flew her to the hospital. And all she asked was, "How's my baby? How's my baby?" And she was very injured. And I just remember telling her, I have a good, strong heartbeat, and we're doing everything we can to make sure you guys survive and do well. So, didn't think much of it. It's just another day, just another call. And then 6 months later, I was in a store, and I felt someone was looking at me, and I couldn't really figure it out. I stood there for a minute, and I finally realized that it was a woman with a 6-year-old daughter. She said to me, "You probably don't remember me." She was right. I did notice she had some fresh scars on the side of her face and her arm. She finally let me off the hook. She said, "You flew me when I crashed my car 8 months ago." I instantly remembered the call. She was involved in a horrific crash, and she had bad injuries and was pregnant. And now I was there with her 6-month-old daughter, both of them beaming. And all she could say to me was, "Thank you. Thank you for taking care of me, and thank you for taking care of my baby." But also, the reassurance in the flight and the baby was strong also made it a lot easier than those days where patients succumb from their injuries. All right, so there's another group of people that I'd like to address, and I think everybody here has, and speakers have brought this to everyone's attention, is the family. There's going to be days when your officer comes home and is not going to want to talk, not want to eat, and maybe not even want to bathe. But you have to realize that it's not you. The things that they will see in a day are things that people who are not in public service will ever see. So sometimes it's important for there to be a code or a phrase or something where you can say, it's been one of those days. And the best way to support that officer is to let them have a moment to decompress. And that is a hard thing to do. I'm a talker, and not hounding and finding out what was going on can be difficult. This decision made by your family members for you to pursue a career in law enforcement is a sacrifice and was not made lightly. They will miss holidays and family gatherings because of the shift work. You can't put a close sign out on the police department, even though some days you wish you could. And I know the last few months going through their hiring process and waiting and acceptance and work and stress of being in the recruit class has not been hard on them, but on you too. I am sure they will appreciate your support and ability to celebrate those days, Christmas on the 22nd or New Year's on the January 3rd, because those are their days off. It's not the day on the calendar, but the celebration and being together. There's one more family to discuss, and that's your 95th recruit class. During the days I was privileged enough to spend with you for your active training, I don't know if you remember my boyfriend Cody. I was able to, sorry honey, there's no boyfriend. Just an inside joke there. I was able to see the bond you have already established. You might be a small class, I call you the Mighty Nine, but you are one with might. You helped each other when one struggled and learned from each other's mistakes, as well as cheered for others' success. You have created a bond I encourage you to keep and work at. Care for each other, check in on one another. Graduation, in most of the times, it's the end of an era. Yours is the beginning. Your graduation is just the beginning of your relationships, camaraderie, and brotherhood. The family is strong, and we'll count on you to be there and have your six. Well, I can't go without telling you about a few things that have happened since I've been working at Hilo Medical Center, and how my relationship with HPD has really blossomed. When I started the trauma program, there wasn't a whole lot of difference in care from one patient to the other. So what we did was try to expedite our care and work together as a team with our EMS and the police. So some of my worst and best memories of my career include officers from this department. A lot of times officers from the scene of an assault or a traffic crash provide missing pieces regarding injuries, emotional issues of a patient. This collaboration becomes essential. On many shifts when I'm walking in the ED, I might see multiple ambulances, police cars, and I know it's going to be a crazy shift. And I better be ready to hit the floor running. No matter how crazy it is, I try to say good morning to those that have been in the trenches all night. And they know they have almost just a few more minutes to make it through. I also say it's going to be a great day to those that are coming on. I try to set the tone for one, but that's not always the case. There are some truly horrible days. July 17th, 2018 was one of those days. I was activated for a trauma response and came right in. I didn't call to find out more, just got to the car and got to the ED quickly. As I hustled from the parking lot, I could see dozens of police cars lined up on the road, more than I had ever seen. When I got to the ambulance bay, I saw the faces. The faces of dozens of officers with worry and sorrow. And at that moment, I knew it was one of their family and our community's heroes who needed my team. Our trauma team has never worked so hard to save a life. Every one of us wanted a different outcome than what was inevitable. When there was no more care to be given to the fallen officer in the bed, we turned our care to those who had lost a fellow officer, a friend, a brother. I will never forget the support and compassion and love these officers showed towards each other in their time of need. A time of need I hope none of you ever have to endure. In September of the following year, I had the privilege of caring for another HPD officer and family. This officer wanted to help people even to the very end, and that's what happened. He succumbed to a sudden illness which took his life, but even in his end of life, he continued to serve. His family ensured that his wishes of organ donation occurred. He gave his organs so that others could live. On that day of his donation, it occurred on September 11th. I don't think that was by chance. I think it was by fate. A new tradition was starting across the country and had recently started here in Hilo called the Honor Walk. It's an opportunity we had only to show the families who were making a very difficult sacrifice. So I asked the family if we could bless them with this tradition. They were not familiar with it, but agreed. I explained it was a time for the hospital staff, friends, and family to honor a great sacrifice. We give thanks. We hope to help a grieving family in a moment of loss. So when I got downstairs, where I had met the officers, or went down to meet the officers who were going to participate in this honor walk, I opened the doors and I was shocked. There was over 100 officers in their dress blues and their white gloves, all there to say their final goodbyes to their sudden loss of their brother. I couldn't believe how quickly the news of the honor walk had traveled, and the response was overwhelming. So I took the officers to the ICU. And there they stood side by side with friends, nurses, doctors, filling both sides of the hallway, waiting for their brother's last call. I went into the officer's room and explained to the family it was time. The teams in the OR were ready to receive his gift. I told them thank you, and that we were all here for them and their son. We unhooked him from all the machines, pushed him in his bed through the doorway, where a sea of officers, saluting, stood with respect as a wonderful send-off for this officer. It was truly amazing. The aloha, the love, the endearing hearts of these officers. This was the true honor, to share a personal moment with these officers who were more than just co-workers. They were family. Police officers all over this nation struggle to be seen in a positive light and make split-second decisions that change people's lives in a heartbeat. Every day you are committed to preserve the spirit of aloha with skills which most don't possess to protect. You also gain skills to save lives when you are first one on the scene before EMS gets there. It always brings a smile to my face when I read on an EMS report that states CPR was initiated by HPD officer who arrived on the scene, or a tourniquet was placed by HPD. These actions can save a life and was not in training in the department until just a few years ago. These trainings have helped save lives, plus training allowed me to meet all of you. I enjoy getting to know you during other few days together. I enjoyed getting to know you during our few days together, and I am sure we will see each other again in the ED. Please make a point to say hello and stop by, and every day is a gift. Every shift is an opportunity. What kind of opportunity is what you will have to decide. Congratulations, class of 95th class, and mahalo for choosing me to share your day with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fincher. At this time, I'd like to ask Police Chief Paul Ferreira, Mayor Mitch Roth, and Commissioner Thomas Brown to approach the front for the presentation of the training certificates.
We also have the honor of having U.S. Attorney Claire Connors here. I ask her to step forward, please.
Each recruit will receive a certificate for completing the academic portion of their training and will be moving on to 4 months of field training under the guidance of an experienced patrol officer. During the presentation, we ask that you hold on to your applause until every recruit has received their certificate. Melani, Cline. Rylan, Fujii. Grant, Kunihiro. Derek, Okabayashi. Edward, Petrie. Troyson, Reilly. Collin, Roberts. Marcus, Sosa. Mikhail, Watkins. Congratulations, recruits. We will now commence with the presentation of awards. Special recognition is given to those recruits who achieve outstanding performance during the course of academic training. The academic award is given to the recruit who attains the highest grade point average on weekly and certification examinations. This officer's grade point average over the course of academic training was 96.88. The academic award goes to Edward Petrie. The Firearms Award is given to the recruit who attains the highest rating in firearms training. The recruit's interest and proficiency in the use of firearms are taken into consideration in selecting the recipient of this award. During firearms training, this officer scored an average of 58 out of a possible 60 points and always maintained strict discipline in firearm safety. The Firearms Award goes to Officer Collin Roberts. The Physical Fitness Award goes to the recruit who has shown outstanding physicality of the Phase 1 portion of training. They must successfully pass our department's physical fitness exam and strive to better themselves and their fellow recruits to keep themselves in shape for the physical demands of the job. The Physical Fitness Award goes to Officer Grant Kunihiro. The Outstanding Recruit Award goes to the recruit who performed in the upper 10% academically and physically, including his or her performance in the various arts, firearms, arrest control techniques, baton training, and is an inspirational example for his or her fellow officers. The Outstanding Recruit Award goes to Officer Collin Roberts. Congratulations, recruits. You may now take your seats. As we come to a close, I would like to take this time to thank command staff for allowing their personnel to assist with training the recruits in numerous subject matters. Without their support, it would be impossible to get to this day. Of course, we have our instructors to thank that are too numerous to mention. Your continuous contributions to the recruit training program are deeply appreciated. Finally, I would like to offer a word of thanks to our Administrative Services Division for all their hard work in the preparation of this ceremony. We end today's program with a closing prayer by Police Chaplain Catherine Konanui.
Thank you and congratulations to our class of 95 police department and our wonderful families that are here to celebrate them. Thank you guys so much for what you have signed up to do, because as I was thinking about what to pray over you guys as we close, the scripture of Matthew 22:14 came to mind, and it was, "Many are called, but few are chosen." Many signed up and started out with you guys, but the mighty nine are left. And you guys are chosen clearly to fulfill this calling. So we just want to say thank you as a community. You are now going to be going out into the community, and I look at you guys as shepherds over your flock, which is the sheep, our community. And you know, for those of you who know animals, sheep are not the smartest animals. And you're going to have encounters with people that you have to explain why you cannot cross the lines and go see the lava. You're going to have to explain why, when the road is blocked, you still cannot cross it and take your car there. So please have patience with us sheep in the community, as you are now our shepherds, and will have to not only be patient with us, but also protect and serve from the wolves that are also in the community. So we thank you for taking this calling. And as we pray over you, these words came to my mind was integrity, boldness, courage, compassion, and wisdom. So we're going to pray for you pray over that for you right now. So please bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we just thank you. We thank you for the few that you have chosen to fulfill this calling, this need, this honorable profession that is going to change their lives and adjust everything in their lives, personally, professionally, in their family, in their homes, Lord. So we just ask for you to bless them, to continue the spirit of integrity. May they always strive for what is right and just. Boldness, to walk alongside what is right, and to have that boldness to stand for what is right. We ask for the courage that in the face of what is happening around them, to step forward, to be courageous when others are fleeing in fear, Lord. To have compassion for those who are suffering a loss or a tragedy that they did not expect, Lord. And to also have wisdom into how to help people, Lord, to the best of their training, to the best of their abilities, Lord, to just watch over them. And of course, to watch over their families, Lord. Please keep them bold and courageous and strong, and help them to come alongside their officers and to have compassion for their officers, as they will see things that most of us will never, ever see. Please watch over their children, Lord, as they go out and serve you. They may not understand why they're not there on Christmas morning or for their birthday, but please be with them in the celebration of when they can be there, Lord. Help them to adjust. Protect them mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, Lord. May that badge over their officers cover their hearts, because their heart, Lord, will need protection, as they will see things, they will endure things, they will hear things that other people will not have to. So please protect them in all areas of their life. We put our trust in you, Lord, and we thank you for these officers who have stepped up, the few who have been chosen. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Kunihiro. Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present to you the 95th Police Recruit Class. This concludes the recognition ceremony. We ask that the families please remain seated until the commanders and dignitaries have congratulated the recruits. The recruits will be lined up outside the ballroom doors. Thank you.